Welcome to ScaryScull. I'm Jack Winters, and on tonight's story, a writer starts to see a ghost, or is it his imagination? Number 3 wants your soul. This is my story. Last year, I temporarily moved into a rented house until I could find the right house to buy in the right area. The area wasn't somewhere I would usually choose to live. There wasn't anything really bad about the area. I guess it's just me being picky. A little backstory about myself. I'm a 35-year-old crime novelist. I've made quite a bit of money over the years by selling my books. I've dated a lot. Women tell me that I'm dreamy, but I'm not sure if it's because of my looks or my small bit of fame. Maybe a bit of both. I was doing very well, and my life was just getting better every day. From dating, I met the right woman, married her, and we bought a house together. I was happy, but eventually, everything quickly went downhill. From being successful in my 20s to meeting my wife and marrying her when I was 30, I had a great life. We bought the perfect house and we were going to start a family, but then something changed when I started to work on my next book. I couldn't think of any ideas. I started drinking, and then the next minute I was drinking more. I went downhill really fast. I started to cheat on my wife, and she found out. She left me and took half my money. I started to gamble. The next thing is that I'm now living in a rented house in an area that I thought I would never live in. So now you are up to date with the highs and lows of my life. The house that I stayed at was detached with a first floor. The main bedroom had 2 main windows, the large one facing the street and the one on the side of the house facing the neighbour's side garden and window. The area was a cul-de-sac with only a few houses near me. The first few nights of living there, I couldn't sleep and I couldn't stay downstairs and relax without feeling depressed, so I decided to stay in my bedroom most of the time. Since I couldn't sleep, I decided to place a desk near the side window and sit just there most nights for a few hours just thinking of ideas for a book. A month had passed and I had gotten into a bad routine of sleeping a couple of hours a day and staying up at night sitting at my desk with a bottle of JD and some medication to help me with my depression, passing out with my desk lamp on, waking up in the morning with a few pages typed up for my book, only to delete them, and repeating the same routine the next night. One night, in my poor routine, I woke up to 2 cats circling each other, hissing loudly, and getting ready to fight. I opened my window to scare them away, but they ran off anyway from their noise of me opening my window. Halfway through opening my window, I accidentally hit the off switch button on my desk lamp with my elbow. I was just about to switch it back on when I saw a low light in my neighbour's window across from me, and I saw a woman just standing there, staring out. I didn't think much of it at the time. I just thought she must have heard the cats and looked out like I did. I went to turn my lamp back on, which brightened up the room again, but I couldn't see outside. I made an attempt to type on my laptop and write a few pages, but I passed out. When I woke up this time, I didn't delete the first few pages of my story. It was actually good, maybe a bit dark, but still interesting. The weirdest thing was that I couldn't even remember writing this. I thought to myself I must have been so high from the medication and JD that I was actually in the zone. This gave me the idea and the excuse to drink more and get more high. The following night, I sat at my desk, drank more, and took more medication. The next morning, more words were added to my book. I continued this routine for a week until one night I was woken up by a banging noise coming from the outside. I am confused with my surroundings because I am drunk and high. I managed to get a bit of information from my senses. I opened my window to see what it was, but I couldn't see anything because it was so dark outside and bright inside. I decided to turn my desk lamp off to see more clearly outside, but when I turned off my light, my neighbour was at the window again, looking out with her low light on, but this time she was staring right at me with a big evil grin. She freaked me out. I decided to turn off my light, close my laptop and have a look around. For all she knew, I was getting into my bed. I decided to stay at my desk, sit in the dark and watch her. She was still there, staring with a big grin for over an hour. I was still quite out of it, so I was kind of watching her until I passed out. The next morning, more words were added to my book, but this time I was confused, angry and scared. There was a page with a sentence repeating itself. Number 3 want your soul. Number 3, want your soul. Over and over again. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Why did I write this? Confused by this, I started to put my investigation cap on. I decided, after weeks of living here, to finally go over to my neighbour's house and introduce myself and see what type of weirdo I was living next door to. I rang the bell, but no one answered. I was walking back to my house when I spotted a neighbour across the road. I went over to introduce myself and to find out who lived at number 3. The neighbour told me that no one has lived there for 3 months. He said there was a woman who was renting the place who had taken her own life. The landlord found her body in the main bedroom with a letter saying, number 3 wants your soul. Now I'm freaked out by all this. That same day, I packed my bags and stayed at a motel. Call it fear or whatever, I never went back to that street. I lost my deposit and 3 months worth of rent. But to me, that was worth it. I'm someone who writes crime novels, not supernatural stuff. I stay away from all that stuff. I'm living at a friend's house at the moment. I've stopped drinking and stopped taking my medication. I'm now writing a new book and I have deleted the one I was working on. After all, I couldn't remember writing it and it wasn't my style. I have a strange theory that either I was so drugged up that I became another person and somehow tapped into something dark, or the dead woman at number 3 was in my room typing on my laptop. What do you think it could be? I have no idea. The end. Thank you for listening to this story.
Stay safe out there.
Join us
in the next video.
and don't get too spooked.